Hello, I'm Dr. Russell Don, President of Concordia University, Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to today's Cougar Athletics broadcast. We take great pride in the strength of both our athletic and academic programs, which are rooted in our steadfast commitment to Jesus Christ. Dedicated to the liberal arts as a foundation of a high-quality college degree, we believe education should form individuals for service to their neighbors. This makes Concordia Chicago an exciting and fulfilling place to study, work, learn, and grow. Learn more today by visiting cuchicago.edu. Thank you, and go Cougars!
Hello, Cougar Nation, and welcome back to River Forest here on Wednesday night for some Cougar volleyball action. It's a conference matchup, and it's the Concordia rivalry. Concordia University Chicago hosting their neighbors up north, Concordia University Wisconsin. Cougars taking on the Falcons in a matchup of two teams that have had some rough conference seasons so far for very different reasons. We'll get into that as the game goes on. I'm Jonathan Shear, the Cougar Sports Network. Joining me today is Alfredo Harmilo Ruiz. So get ready to go. We have a Cougars team coming into today sitting at 2-4 in conference play, and it's the same story for the Falcons coming into the day at 2-5 in conference play. Both of them outside of the playoff picture. This is where Concordia, Wisconsin was expected to be, but for the Cougars, this is not where they expected to be. And a lot of that is due to some struggles with the injuries. Again, J.R. Stella and Tyler Hollebeck both out, two of this team's biggest contributors at the start of the year, alongside Wyatt Anzenberger-Shea, one of their big freshmen. They're literally big freshmen, the 6'10" big man, still out. This is a team that's having to work through those injuries and fight to stay alive, and maybe you can get your guys back for the playoffs, and that starts tonight. Alfredo, Cougars taking on a Concordia, Wisconsin team in a should-win and must-win game. What do you expect the Cougars, what do the Cougars need to do tonight to pull that off?
No, they really do need to just put a lot of effort into this, because they are a very talented team, and going into this game, they should have a lot more motivation, given that their season is significantly better than Concordia, Wisconsin. Concordia, Wisconsin started off the season with just straight loss after loss, so this should be a game that they really have to win.
And the Cougars start with the serve. Alex Ford gets things going. That'll be set by Hurley, tipped over, and some early miscommunication for the Cougars as Owen Kalesi finds Pater in the middle of the court. The Falcons take an early lead, 1-0, as it'll be Hayden Hurley who will head back and take the serve himself. Hurley tosses it up, gets it over. Received by Kamenar. Mosher setting a tipper for Godzowski. They head over to Reed Scott, going for the middle of the court. Dug out. And there's Kamenar to the back row. Tate Miller can't handle it. And Tristan Kamenar picks up his first kill of the night to even it up at 1 apiece. Brings it back over to Eli Mosher. And that'll go far and wide, and that'll bring us to one of our big storylines for the night, the service errors. A big struggle for the Cougars early on in the season. The Falcons haven't had as much of a problem with it. Still something you never like to see. Concordia, Chicago, they've cleaned it up as conference play has gone on, but it's still cropped up, especially in their last game, a 3-2 loss to the St. Norbert Green Knights. 15 service errors in that game.
And yeah, that's absolutely something that needs to be polished, because those are points that you give the other team that you really should not be giving. I mean, you have the advantage. You're going to serve, and then you lose those points right there. It's not a good part of the game, because then you end up going down.
Mosher sets up Godzowski, kind of whiffs on it, almost works out. Scott brings the heat, and it's blocked. Godzowski gets up there, and that hits down on the far sideline. Cougars get possession back. They trail by 1 as Kamenar heads back to serve. Gets it over. Hurley sets that for Scott. And Mosher, an errant reception all the way over his bench to the bleachers. And the Falcons will take it right back. Reed Scott coming into the game, leading this Falcons squad with 173 kills. And he picks up his first of the night right there.
Yeah, these are two teams that come from a loss, and they don't want a second loss in a row. With Concordia, Wisconsin, it's Edgewood. With Concordia University, Chicago, it's St. Norbert.
There's another one for the Falcons. Bit of a bad pass, and Mosher and Godzowski are unable to reel it in. So Cougars in a 3-point hole early, as back to serve heads Chase Ammons, the senior from Elm Grove, Wisconsin. Cardenas gets it, that heads all the way over to Tate Johnson. Long pass, middle of the court, Koleski gets it over, Mosher to Kamenar, it's still alive! And Cardenas gets it over. Hurley sets up Parker Butterfass, and Michael Cardenas can't handle it. Greg Manos doesn't like what he's seeing. He's going to take his first timeout of the night. His team down 4 early. It's 6-2. Concordia, Wisconsin. Alfredo, what have you been seeing through the first 8 points? What do the Cougars need to clean up?
Well, with the thing with volleyball is that it's a sport that even if you start going down in the first bit of the game, it doesn't mean that you're completely lost. This game is back and forth, and Concordia, Wisconsin have simply just been better when getting to the ball. Concordia, Chicago are really struggling also with, when you said, with serving. That's a big thing that they've been struggling this whole entire time.
Yeah, the biggest thing, you see a little, we mentioned getting to the ball. A lot of that comes down to communication. That's kind of what the Cougars have been missing a little bit early on here. Some errant receptions, some bad passes, some whiffs on the front line. That communication, that chemistry just isn't really there to start the game. Cougars off to a slow start. They've had some slow starts this season. They're able to get that back together. And like you said, Alfredo, very early on, a lot of room to pull that together. We'll see how this team responds to the timeout. Back to serve again is Ammons. Ball's up, ball's over, and that miscommunication is still there. Cardenas and Armstrong back off and let it go right between them, make it a 7-2 Concordia, Wisconsin lead.
Oh yeah, like you mentioned, that miscommunication is going to be brutal if they don't polish it soon.
Ammons gets it over again. Armstrong receives. Mosher setting for Armstrong. A tapper! Saved by Hurley. Mosher setting for Godzowski, who brings the heat to the back row. His first kill of the night. And the Cougars take possession back with a 4-point deficit as Alex Ford heads back into the game. And that's straight into the net from Godzowski. Another one of those service errors sends it back over to the Falcons and brings it back to a 5-point gap, 8-3, as Reed Scott will head back to serve. Scott on the year, 12 service aces to 35 service errors. He gets that one over. Mosher setting forward, doesn't get the contact he wants, but it works out. An errant reception for Drew Nelson. And the Cougars bring it back over to their side. Tate Johnson headed back to serve. Johnson lobs it up. And that's out. Another one for the Cougars. 3 service errors early.
Yeah, this is probably their biggest kryptonite at this point. Just the service errors is really what's putting a huge gap between Concordia, Wisconsin and them.
Nice dig out from Cardenas. Mosher keeps it alive. Gato with the kill. Van Gato from the back row. And the defensive specialist takes his moment. The team loving that one. And it brings the Cougars back within 4. 4 is also the number you can use for the amount of service errors for this Cougars team now. Armstrong sends it wide. Back to serve now, Parker Butterfass. Butterfass tosses it up. Received by Gato. Mosher sets it up over to Kamenar. A floater kept up. It's over to Miller, who has to punch it across. Mosher tries to dump it off. It's blocked. Cougars keep it alive. Gato from mid-range again, and that one's long. Falcons up to 11 now and get their largest lead of the night with a 6-point gap.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed more is that Concordia, Wisconsin aren't really doing too much. It's mostly Concordia, Chicago that are messing up in these instances and giving them points.
Butterfass off the net. Cardenas takes it. That'll be set up for Kamenar. Received by Scott. Hurley, a dump off. Cardenas keeps it alive. Alex Ford slams it down, but he goes into the net. A highlight reel moment doesn't work out for the Cougs. They trail by 7 as Greg Manos has to take his second timeout of the night already. Cougars trailing 12-5. We'll be back in just a minute. And we're back here in River Forest, Concordia, Wisconsin. Out to a strong start. The Falcons leading the Cougars 12-5 as Concordia Chicago just can't seem to find their footing. In set number 1, Parker Butterfass serves it up, trying to continue what's become a 3-0 run. Mosher sets for Ford. Hurley setting up Koleski. And that's wide. Owen Koleski can't get it down, and the Cougars get the point out of the timeout, a much-needed point for CUC. They bring it back within 6 as Alex Ford heads back to serve. Hurley setting over to Koleski. That one will get down. Owen Koleski makes up for it and brings it back to a 7-point game. And he'll get a chance to be at the engine of what could be another run for this Falcons squad as he heads back to serve. Koleski tosses it up. Received by Gato. Mosher setting for Kamenar. That's tipped, and that'll get down all the way at the back wall. Tristan Kamenar picks it up for the Cougs, and they keep trading points. 13-7 now. Mosher back to serve. Up. Over. Hurley setting that for Ammons. Now Cardenas passing back. Kamenar reaching back. Tipped and down. Tristan Kamenar on a heater. Another kill.
Yeah, I think if they can get a run of points right now, they can really, really come back and just get back into this game a little bit more.
Mosher able to get it over again. Hurley setting that up for Koleski. Blocked down. Blocked again. Ammons keeps it up. Koleski passing for Scott, and Scott splits the block. Johnson and Godzowski left the gap between them, and Scott's able to capitalize. Reed Scott's second of the night. Back to a 6-point lead as Owen Koleski heads back to serve. And he sends that too far. First service error of the night for the Falcons, as it'll send it back over to the Cougs. Back to a 5-point lead. Tristan Kamenar back to serve. Kamenar, service error his last time at the line, gets that one over. Hurley, quick set for Ammons. Good dig from Mosher. Johnson puts a lot on it. That almost makes it over the Falcons bench.
Yeah, something you mentioned was that it was the first service error for the Falcons, which is kind of insane and very impressive going this deep into the game. They've been doing really well with serving.
Chase Ammons now back to serve, up over the net. Cardenas receives. Mosher passing for Johnson, who's able to get it through the block and to the back corner. A nice shot for Johnson. Now it's a bad sign for the Falcons. Owen Koleski down, and coach is immediately calling for the trainers as they'll go to take a look at Koleski, who is very slow to get up. Not a great look for the Falcons. We'll give them some time to check him out, make sure he's okay. We'll be back here in a minute on the Cougar Sports Network. welcome back to River Forest. Owen Koleski and Hayden Hurley getting checked out. Koleski back up, good to go. The training staff still checking out Hayden Hurley. A head-to-head collision between those two as they go for a loose ball. Good news is it looks like both players will be okay in the long run at least. But in the meantime, Hayden Hurley will still be on the bench getting looked at. The Falcons are going to be without their number one setter. So this Concordia, Wisconsin team, we're looking like it. They're able to get Hurley up and moving in time. So a heck of a performance from the Concordia, Wisconsin training staff. As Hayden Hurley is up, head's cleaned up, and he's good to go. As the Falcons holding on to a 5-point lead are going to have that knocked down to a 4-point lead as they're immediately tagged with a rotation error out of the timeout. So some bad luck for the Falcons. As Coach Madsen gets some clarification on who was out of order. He's satisfied with the answer. His team now work with a 4-point lead, and there's an ace for Leon Gudzowski. There's some luck involved, but it works out anyways, off the net and down.
Yeah,
and
not the greatest serve, but it ended up working out.
I mean, what is a great serve? I would say anything that gets you a point is a serve. Technically, not the goal, but it works out fantastic for Leon. Here's Scott on the run-up, a tapper. No looker from Johnson. On the far side, Miller blocked by the Cougars. Miller, he'll have another go over the block. Mosher gets it. Kamenar can't chase it down. Tate Miller. Second tries the charm, and he gets his guys back up to a 4-point lead at 16-12. So Reed Scott heads back to serve for the second time tonight. The sophomore out of Chandler, Arizona. Off the net, Sidney Cardenas gets it. Running in is Kamenar. Some sauce as the Falcons keep it up. Miller over to Cardenas. Quick set to Ford. Blocked. Armstrong. Mosher. Back to Armstrong. And Tyrese Armstrong goes up early. Can't get his contact on. As that'll be an error on the Cougars. Back to a 5-point lead for the Falcons. 17-12. Scott sends it across. Kamenar to Mosher. Quick to Ford! And that eats up Drew Nelson.
Yeah, slowly the Cougars are improving and they're closing the gap. I think if they continue this path, they easily can really put themselves back into this game. As long as those service errors don't continue, we'll be good.
Johnson. A lot of sauce on it. It would have been an error, but the Falcons tagged for another rotation violation. Coach Madsen was talking to his bench. He hears the whistle. He comes back over, listens to the ref, talking to his guys. Understandably not the most pleased with that. And then Johnson's able to get the serve over on the following one. But Tate Miller gets in on the action. Cardenas can't dig it out. And it's back to a 4-point lead for the Falcons. Van Gato back into the game for CUC. Tate Miller back to serve. Miller himself, 10 aces, 36 service errors on the year. Mosher, quick set to Ford. Straight back over from Nelson. Mosher back to Ford, through the block. What a save from Drew Nelson! And then Alex Ford looks like he's getting ready for March Madness. A slam dunk on the long reception.
Yeah, initially the Falcons saved that one, but it was not enough. The Cougars got back to it, and they're closing the gap a lot.
Yeah, it was some fantastic defense from Drew Nelson nonetheless. And it's going to work its way back up to a 4-point gap as Armstrong sends it straight into the net. 19-14 lead for the Falcons. Parker Butterfass back for the serve. Armstrong digs out. Mosher just slaps it over. Long set for Koleski. Armstrong gets it. It's off the signs. Cardenas keeps it up. Kamenar, too much on it. It's out of bounds. Cougars almost able to keep it alive, just not enough. And the Falcons will crack 20. That's number 20, Butterfast, who will continue to serve. He's had a good night at the service line so far. Ball's up. Ball's over. Long reception. Mosher goes up the line. He wins out. Koleski off the head of Ford. Couldn't keep track of where it's going. And it's a 3-point run for the Falcons. They're 4 points away from taking set number 1. They have a 6-point lead, 21-15.
Yeah, it's really at the point where you can't make any of these mistakes because you're very close to losing the set.
Butterfast tosses it up. Long reception from Gato, and that'll get down. Not what you're looking for on defense, and the Falcons up to a 7-point lead. They are on a roll. Trying to close out set number 1. Parker Butterfast continuing a great night at the service line. Butterfast gets it over. Armstrong digs out. Mosher to Ford, a tapper. Kept up. Miller going to Koleski. Off the net. That's 4 touches for the Falcons. Cougars will take it back, but they've got a lot of work to do to get back in to set number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a small margin of error, and I mean, it's still the first set. They still can polish a lot of things, and let's hope that the service errors don't continue because we'll see one right now.
Ford over, received by Damon. There's another 4 touches for the Falcons. Bit of an errant set from Hurley, and Ammons mistimes the jump. So back-to-back attacking errors for the Falcons. Cougars catching a little bit of a break. They still trail by 5 as Ford gets it over. Hurley setting for Koleski. And that just touches down on the back line. A nice shot from Owen Koleski. Brings that lead back up to 6, 23-17. As Hayden Hurley will head back to serve. Hurley tosses it up, gets it over. Errant reception from Armstrong. Cardenas keeps it up. Kamenar passing it over. Set up for Ammons. Cougars keeping it alive. Kamenar just has to pass it over. Another chance for the Falcons. Scott! Wide open, beautiful misdirection at the line from Hayden Hurley. The no-look set. Cougars completely leaving the right side open. And Concordia, Wisconsin has a chance to close it out. Mosher setting for Kamenar off the block. Hurley, he's going for Scott. Kept up by Armstrong. 2 squads fighting at the line. Hurley, he's going to set it to Scott again. Off the net. 4 touches. Just a bit too much on top of it.
Yeah, they recover a point. The Cougars really do recover a point, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to, at this point, really make a comeback.
6 points to go for CUC. Mosher gets it over, and that'll do it. Ammons finds Pater. His first kill of the night in Concordia, Wisconsin. A dominant set 1, leading from start to finish. They win it 25-18. Concordia Chicago look to bounce back in set number 2, and we come back in just a couple minutes. And we're back on the Cougar Sports Network. A dominant set 1 victory for the Falcons in tonight's matchup between the two Concordias, Wisconsin and Chicago. CUC looking to bounce back in set number 2. Gotten a deep hole to start set number 1, couldn't dig themselves out of it. They'll look to get off to a better start in set number 2. It'll be the Falcons starting off with the serve.
Yeah, we see this in volleyball games very often where you lose the first serve, but you lose the first set, but you can actually just come back and end up winning the whole entire thing 3-1. So we have confidence that the Cougars will pull this off.
Hayden Hurley back for the serve. Hurley tosses it up, and it's into the net. A service error to start this set 2, and the Cougars do draw first blood before they even have to touch the ball. So a strong start for CUC as Kamenar will now step up, gets it over. Hurley setting for Ammons, who just sees nothing but red. He drills it to the near sideline. That'll even it up at 1 as Koleski heads back to serve. Koleski sends it wide, so now it's the Falcons. Off to a rough start from the service line. Both serves so far this set errant. So the Cougars 2-1. They only touched the ball once. Guzovsky gets it over. Hurley setting for Scott. High shot, and it's an errant reception for Guzovsky straight to the tower judge. And we're even back up at 2. Chase Ammons stepping back to serve. Ammons, the tallest player on this Falcon squad, the tallest active player out of both these teams, tied at 6'6" with Alex Ford, who is active for the Cougars. And speaking of Alex Ford, powers through the block. And the Cougars take that lead back. They continue to trade points back and forth to start set number 2.
Yeah, much better start for the Cougars than in the first set. And let's hope that they can get like a run of points going right now to really put a gap into this game.
Date Johnson drills that over. Hurley setting for Miller, off the block and down. Able to get it just to the side of Ford and Mosher, playing those angles perfectly, and we're tied back up at 3. Scott drills it over. Cardenas receives. Mosher setting for Kamenar from the back row. Now Hurley looking for Koleski from the back row. It's some power shots. In set number 2, Mosher sets up Kamenar. Back row again. Kept up again. Now they'll go to Miller on the near side, and he just drills that through the block and into the bleachers. The Falcons up to a 4-3 lead. First consecutive points for either squad in the set. Scott continuing the serve. Received by Cardenas. Mosher setting all the way over to Armstrong. Blocked, but it's out of bounds. Playing those angles perfectly, and the Cougars tie it up at 4.
Very even set, 4-4. It's just back and forth. They kind of just get a point, lose a point, get a point, lose a point.
Armstrong tosses it up, and it's into the net. First service error of the set for the Cougs, and it'll send it back over to the Falcons. The trading of points continues. We're still at a 1-point gap. Tate Miller back to serve. One of the 3 seniors on this squad, and he sends it long. Another service error ties it up at 5. Alex Ford heading back to serve. Ball's up, ball's over, and it's an ace for Alex Ford.
Yeah, Alex Ford's having a great night. He's probably the best player of the night so far for the Cougars.
First service ace of the night for Alex Ford. Drove it straight at Damon, who couldn't keep it up. Hurley setting for Butterfast. How did Butterfast hang in the air that long? Beautiful shot for the sophomore. I mean, it looked like Butterfast went up early there, substantially early, and he's just hanging in the air for a full second before he finally starts that swinging motion. And he'll send it out the back line. Butterfast, most service aces on this team at 26 coming into the night. Most service errors at 48. You can make that 49. Concordia, Wisconsin. It's their turn to start with service errors. They're fourth of the set alone. Mosher gets it over. Hurley setting for Amons, who drills that through the block. Just no opposition at the line, and we're tied back up at 7. Concordia, Wisconsin doing a fantastic job of making up for their errors in set number 2 as Hayden Hurley heads back to serve. Received by Armstrong. Mosher has to track it down. Johnson able to push it over. Hurley now setting for Scott. Cardenas setting up. Kamenar tries to no-look it. Kept up by the Falcons. They meet at the line. It's kept up by the Cougars. Johnson has to set back for it. Amons, hard shot. Kept up by the Cougs. Both of these teams just fighting to survive. Blocked. Kept up by Amons. He is on a tear this point. They'll go over to Scott from the mid-range. Kept up. Mosher passing up. Johnson again gets it down. A grind for point number 8. And Tate Johnson, who had attempt after attempt after attempt, finally gets it to go, and the Cougars lead by 1.
That was one of the most intense minutes I've ever experienced. You really didn't know who was going to get the point there.
Scott just gets on top of it, drills it into the net as he hangs his head back, and for the first time this set, there's a multi-point deficit. Cougars lead 9-7. Hurley setting for Koleski. Tyrese Armstrong gets up and brings the hammer down. A solo block. And it's a 3-point lead for the Cougs. As we get a small little break, Concordia, Wisconsin wiping some sweat off the floor. 10-7 lead for Concordia, Chicago. And now Leon Gadzowski going to get checked out by the Concordia training staff. I'll take a look at his hand and his head. 3-point lead for the Cougars. Looking at just what's been happening in this set alone. The Cougars, no attacking errors. The Falcons, 2 attacking errors, but you can attack that on to 4 service errors as well. The Falcons haven't been playing as clean as they want to in set number 2. On the contrary, the Cougars, I mean, it's not been perfectly clean this set, but it's much cleaner than they were playing in set number 1. Just 1 service error. That's the only error of the whole set so far for CUC.
Yeah, like I said earlier, once you polish all those errors that you have been having in the first set, you really see that the Cougars are the better side. They are the ones that should be up in most of these sets. And you see it right now. They got a really good run of points. So
Greg Manos going to call a timeout. So Gadzowski will head over to the bench as the training staff will continue to work on him, get that head cleaned up. We'll take a short break here at the Cougar Sports Network. We'll be back in just a minute. And we are back on the Cougar Sports Network. Out of the timeout for CUC. As Leon Gudzovsky will have to get subbed out of the game. As he'll run back over to the training staff, they're going to continue to work on cleaning up that head. Into the game for the first time tonight is Arif, as that'll get over to Koleski, kept up by Kamenar. Mosher setting over to Armstrong, kept up. Amons tries to slam it, blocked by Armstrong. Falcons keeping it alive. Scott through the block. The Falcons just a last gasp to steal a point from the Cougars, and they bring it back within 2. Koleski drills it over, received by Armstrong. Mosher for Arif on his head. Koleski sets it for Scott, tries to bring the hammer, and it's long. Wide left. It's back to a 3-point lead. As now Ayaz Arif heads back to serve. Arif hadn't seen any playing time until the senior night match a week ago. In that game, he set a new career high with 10 kills as he sends that serve wide and is subbed out as Leon Gudzovsky is good to go. 11-9 lead for the Cougars, and with a 2-point deficit, Chase Amons heads back to serve. Amons tosses it up, gets it over. Kamenar to Mosher, setting for Armstrong, who has to go back for it. And it's into the net. Falcons back within 1. It's 11-10. Amons gets it over. Awkward reception for Armstrong. Cougars keeping it alive. Johnson! Strong shot, just a foot too long. We're tied back up at 11. The Falcons on a 3-point run behind the arm of Chase Amons.
Yeah, the Cougars have to concentrate a little bit because now we're tied back up.
Received by Kamenar. Long reception, and Tate Miller eats it up.
We lose the lead. Not a great thing. And honestly, that timeout was something that pretty much caused the run of points that we had gotten to really end.
Amons gets it over. Kamenar receives. Mosher setting for Armstrong. Kept up by the Falcons. Hurley just passes it over. Mosher setting for Ford from mid-range. Hurley, he's going to set that for Koleski, roaring in from the back row, and just puts a bit too much on it. And the Cougars take it back. We're tied at 12. Tate Johnson heading back for the serve. Ball's up. Ball's over. Kept up by Damon. Koleski passes it across. Mosher is going to set for Armstrong. That's off the pin. Point Falcons. Just didn't get enough angle on it. 13-12 lead, Concordia, Wisconsin, as Reed Scott heads back to serve.
Yeah, and we see a few of those errors that we saw in the first set starting to creep up on the Cougars again. And let's hope that they can fix that and get back to how it was in the first few.
Cardenas digs it out. Mosher setting for Ford on the run, and he just can't get enough angle on it again. It's wide right, and the Falcons have their largest lead of the set. It's 14-12. Reed Scott will continue to serve. Ball's up and over. Cardenas receives. Mosher setting for Ford. A tapper. Kept up by the Falcons. Mosher, a dot to take it for the Cougars. They capitalized on a Falcons team that desperately kept it alive and is able to find the open corner. Cougars back within 1, and they're going to have a chance to bring it back with Tyrese Armstrong serving. Ball's up. Off the net, kept up by Hurley. Miller, a floater, nobody's there. And the Falcons bring it back to a 2-point lead. 15-13 lead, Concordia, Wisconsin. Miller gets it over, Mosher, a dump off! How about that from the senior? Takes advantage of the gap. And the Cougars are back within one. Alex Ford now heading back to serve.
You got to take advantage of this serve to really get back into this game and even take a lead.
Hurley setting up Koleski. Cougars can't keep it up. We're trading points, and Concordia, Wisconsin is happy with it. They're back to a 2-point lead. Back to serve is Parker Butterfast. He has been electric at the service line so far tonight. Received by Armstrong. Mosher tracks it down, setting Kamenar. Tipped by the block. Butterfast can't handle it, and it's into the bleachers. Cougars back within one, 16-15. Kamenar, his 4th kill of the night. Mosher able to get it over. Hurley setting Amons. He is blocked. Tristan Kamenar gives him no quarter. And we're tied back up at 16. Mosher gets it over again. Hurley setting back to Scott. Too much on it. It's long and wide right. And the Cougars, a 3-point run, back to a 17-16 lead. Mosher gets it over again. Hurley, he's going to set over to Koleski. Tipped. Armstrong receives. Kamenar tracks it down. Johnson, a big-time whiff. And we're tied back up at 17.
Yeah, these are the types of errors that we cannot afford if we really want to increase a gap that is significant enough to really overwhelm the Falcons.
Another service error for the Falcons. Back to a 1-point lead for the Cougars, 18-17. Kamenar back to serve. Errant reception. Falcons able to keep it up. And Koleski from mid-range shrugs the shoulders. He's not sure how that split the block, but it works out. Tied back up at 18. It's Koleski himself back to serve. A lot of sauce on it. Cardenas receives. Mosher setting for Johnson, and it's down. Tate Johnson picks it up. That's Johnson's second kill of the night. Make that 3rd kill of the night. 19-18 lead now for the Cougars, and it's number 18, Leon Gudzovsky, back to serve. Gudzovsky gets it over. Received by Damon. Long set up to Miller. It's wide right, and it's tipped. The Falcons take the point as Alex Ford goes over. Quick check with the official. Takes it. We're tied at 19. Chase Amons back to serve. Received by Kamenar. Johnson keeps it up. Ford, a tapper. Koleski, he'll set it up for Scott, who just tries to shove it over. And that point will go to the Cougars. A violation on Scott was a bit of an awkward play. And the officials aren't sold on the call. The tower judge calling over both corners to get their take. They'll keep it with the Cougars. Coach Madsen not happy with it. He's continuing. Chirp at the officials. Johnson sends it over. Hurley setting Miller. Punches it across. Mosher, he's going to look over to Armstrong. Gets on top of it. Cougars keep it alive. It's still going. Hurley setting up Miller. Blocked. He keeps it up. Scott to the middle of the court. Cougars keep it up. Johnson slaps it across. And Butterfass, a hard shot. And we're tied back up at 20. The Falcons press the advantage.
A very back and forth set between the Cougars and the Falcons. Very interesting, very exciting. And then we're going into the last part of this set.
Scott gets it over. Kamenar to Mosher, setting Armstrong over the block. Miller keeps it up. Hurley, a dump off! Forward with a slam of his own. And then Scott from mid-range gets on top of it again. It's into the net. And the Cougars get that 1-point lead back, 21-20. Cougs 4 points away from 25. Falcons 5 points away. Remember, you got to win by 2. Armstrong back to serve. Up and out. An error from the line. And we're tied at 21. Tate Miller back for the serve. Serves up, serves over. Armstrong receives. Mosher setting up Kamenar. And it's down. Splits the defense. Miller can't get there. And it's a 1-point lead for the Falcons. He runs over to wipe up that sweat. Falcons not taking any chances as they try to fight back in set number 2. Cougars leading 22-21.
Yeah, the Cougars have to take advantage of this opportunity right now. It's so close for the Cougars to take this entire set, but it really depends on them not making any more errors.
Alex Ford back to serve. Tosses it up, and it's over. Hurley setting over to Koleski, blocked. Damon keeps it alive. Koleski again to the back row. Owen Koleski, second time's the charm. And we're tied at 22 apiece. Parker Butterfass, he is the man you want at the service line. Butterfass sends it long. A mistake for the man who's been so good from the service line tonight, and the Cougars get that 1-point lead back. They continue to trade points out there. Mosher gets it over. Hurley sets up Amons. Woo-hoo-hoo! Watch out, green light. And we're tied at 23. Just a kill shot. Again, no opposition at the line for Amons. 23-23. Hurley gets it over. Cardenas receives Mosher, setting Gudzovsky. Hurley's going to go all the way over to Koleski. Shoves it across. Cardenas passing to Johnson. Received by Hurley. They'll go to Scott, who's blocked, and it's down! Cougars! Another block at the line. They lead by 1. And Coach Madsen's going to take his first time out of the set. Cougars close to tying tonight up. And honestly, Alfredo, it feels like you're getting everything or you're getting nothing at the line for the Cougars tonight. Sometimes there's no opposition. We've seen that a lot with Chase Amons. He's getting green grass. Just slam it down. And then other times, it's a brick wall. It's the Great Wall of China at the net. Nothing getting past this Cougars defense. 6 blocks on the night so far. 4 in just this set alone. None for the Falcons. So with the Cougars, they haven't been hitting at as high of a percentage, not as many kills, not as many assists. They've been getting the blocks, and that's keeping them in this game.
Yeah, and the Cougars have had a huge improvement from the first set. With the Falcons, it's kind of stayed the same, but you see it right now with how close this one is compared to the first set. It's been a fantastic set for the Cougars, and I hope that they could just improve on this and take a bigger gap in future sets.
And one of those things you look at the Cougars, I mean, they're still not where they would want to be. 5 attacking errors, 3 service errors, but it's in relation to the Falcons, who have 9 attacking errors in this set and 5 service errors. 24-23 lead for the Cougars. Kamenar sends it over. Hurley going back to Koleski, kept up by Mosher. Kamenar passing for Armstrong, punches it across. Hurley back to Koleski, it's into the net, and the Cougars take set 2. A close one, and Concordia Chicago takes it 25-23. They even things up. 1 set apiece here on Wednesday night. They'll switch back over to the other side of the court. These two squads will get ready for set number 3. We'll be back in just a couple minutes to cover set number 3 here on the Cougar Sports Network. And we're back on the Cougar Sports Network. CUC evens it up at 1 set apiece in set number 2. A thrilling 25-22, 25-23 set victory. And they'll look to continue that momentum into set number 3. The Falcons, they'll look to bounce back and get that lead back. The Cougars will have the serve to start the set. Once we get things going, both teams getting ready to make those substitutions to start the set. Michael Cardenas waiting to head into the game. And he is in, and for the first time tonight out on the court, Marcin Hoffman, number 10, one of the most longest tenured Cougars on this roster. Been here since that 2024 season for the Cougars when there were fewer than 10 players on the roster his freshman year. Program's changed a lot since he's gotten here. And the Falcons will start off with first blood in set number 3. Kamenar sends it wide. It's a 1-0 lead for CUW.
Yeah, this program has really improved a lot, and it's gotten a lot of talent right now. They really can pull this game off, and many more games for this, these conference games.
Early gets it over. Hoffman receives. Mosher setting for Gazovsky. Ooh! He brings the heat, but a little too high. That had a vertical launch angle from the Cougars' side, nearly making it all the way to the back wall. And it's a 2-point lead for the Falcons. And when you look at just how much this program has changed over the last couple of years as Hurley sends that into the net, Cougars take the point back. It's so much of that credit going to head coach Greg Manos, who came in. He was hired back before the 2023 season, very late in the offseason, right before the start of the season. Cougars' former head coaching staff heading over to Benedictine University. And that's a tough spot to walk into, and Greg Manos having to pretty much rebuild that team from the ground up, and he has done a fantastic job of that, turning them back into a competitive program in the NAC.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's not easy to rebuild an entire team.
And the Cougars take the point. The volleyball is looking like Neo in the Matrix, as it just ends up a foot long. The Cougars dodge it all the way, where it's back to a 1-point game, 3-2 CU dub. As Gazovsky's back to serve, gets it over, and that's almost into the tower judge. The Falcons keep it alive. Mosher setting over to Johnson. Now we're seeing some matrix action from Cooper Damon. Almost looking like Neo as he bends over backwards to avoid that one.
Yeah, this game is just getting more and more exciting, more and more interesting as we go.
Back to serve is Chase Amons. 2-point lead at his back. Ball's up and over. Hoffman receives. It's a long reception. Mosher keeps it on the Cougars' side. Ford slams it down. Koleski from the back row. Over. Cardenas looking for Johnson. It's tipped at the line. A nice play from Tate Johnson puts that positive launch angle on it and gets it off the top of the block. Back to a 1-point gap. Tate Johnson back for the serve. Ball is up and over. Hurley setting for Scott. Scott's just got to push it over. Ford bringing the heat. And we're tied up at 4. Alex Ford, his 5th of the night.
Looks a lot like how we started the second set. Just a very back and forth game. Both teams really going at it. Cougars trying their best to get a lead. Falcons trying not to allow that to happen.
Johnson able to get it over. Hurley setting for Butterfast. Just has to grab it over. A floater from Ford, kept up by Hurley. Damon passing it up for Miller. And he splits the block. Back to a 1-point lead for the Falcons. As Tate Miller bides his time to see where those arms are. And we read Scott headed back for the serve. Scott gets it across. Hoffman to Mosher. Setting Hoffman off the block and down. Marcin Hoffman, his first of the night. And we're tied at 5. Hurley setting Butterfast. Had a great opportunity, but he was behind it, and he wasn't able to get a good angle on it. Sends it wide, and the Cougars in front for the first time in set number 3, 6-5. Hoffman at the line, gets it across. Miller on the near side, he's blocked, but he puts enough sauce on it. It gets out all the way on the opposite coast. We're tied back up at 6. Back to serve is Miller. Gets it across. Gato digs it out. It's over the net. Mosher! Big weight room moment as he keeps that over the net. Ford, he tries to show off those muscles. It's returned. Now to go over to Kamenhar. A laser to the back corner.
The crowd wanted an exciting game. They got it. It's right here, and the Cougars are doing a great job at trying to really pull away from this
Back
lead.
to a 1-point lead, 7-6. Ford just a bit wide, and we're tied at 7. Back for the serve is Parker Butterfast. He's either gone on a big run or sent it into the net. That one's wide. Another service error. Parker Butterfast starting to struggle a little bit at the line, not getting the hits he wants. And Eli Mosher will head back to serve. Mosher sends it over, received by Miller. Hurley setting for Koleski, kept up by Mosher. And we're going to tag him with, I think, a lift. Nobody on the Cougars bench is happy with it. Oh, take it. We're tied back up at 8. Hurley gets it across. Cardenas receives. Mosher tracks it down, setting Johnson. Hard shot block, kept up by the Cougs. Hurley setting that for Amons, just has to reach out and punch it. Kept up again, and the Cougars can't return it. Falcons take the lead back 9-8. Cougars defense just isn't enough. And Hurley will have another chance to serve. Hurley on the night. No aces to 3 service errors. Gets that one over. Kamenhar leaps, and it's blocked. Owen Koleski blocks it into no man's land, and it is a 2-point lead for the Falcons on a 3-point run. Hayden Hurley starting to feel it behind the line. Ball is up and over. Mosher setting for Gudzovsky. Had a great windup, but just missed the contact, and it's sent long. 3-point lead for CU Dub, their largest of the set, and Coach Manos is going to take that first time out. We'll be back in just a minute on the Cougar Sports Network. And we're back on the Cougar Sports Network. Coming off of a Cougar timeout. The CUC had an 8-7 lead. The Falcons gone on a 4-0 run in response. They lead by 3, 11-8. As we come out of the timeout, Hayden Hurley looking good from the service line, looking to continue that momentum. Able to get across. Cardenas receives. Mosher setting Gudzovsky. Oh, Chase Amons! An emphatic block. And it's back to a 4-point lead for CU Dub.
Yeah, the Falcons have a really good run of form right now.
Hurley into the net, and that'll end his run, a 5-0 run. And his 4th service error of the night. CUC back within 3. It's 12-9 as Tristan Kamenar heads back to serve. Ball is up and out. Just too much on it. And it's back to a 4-point game as Owen Koleski heads back to serve. And then Koleski sends it wide. Just a few inches, but it's enough to send it back over to the Cougars and bring it back to a 3-point game as Leon Godzowski heads back to serve. Godzowski tosses it up. And it's down! Damon received, and then Scott just backed off a little too much. Miscommunication with him and Hayden Hurley. It's an ace for Leon. Cougars back within 2.
This is an opportunity for the Cougars to really close that gap a lot more.
Godzowski off the net. Hurley setting Miller on the run to the back row. Kamenar passing for Hoffman. Off the block. Hurley setting back for Koleski on the run. Mosher digs it out. Hoffman now from the mid-range, blocked over. Cougars keep it up. Mosher has to pass it across. Hurley setting Amons, and it eats up Mosher. Chase Amons again, clear sky at the line. And now he'll get the chance to head back and serve. Amons gets it over. Kamenar receives. Mosher setting for Hoffman. Kept in by Koleski. Hurley setting over to Miller. Mosher setting Hoffman. It's off the block. Kept up by Koleski. Hurley looking for Scott. Cougars keep it up. Cardenas passes it over. They're going to go for Butterfast, and he finds Pater on the back row. Back to a 4-point lead. It's 15-11 CU Dub. Chase Amons, received by Kamenar. Mosher, a no-look set to Johnson. Hurley setting that up for Miller! Oh, don't do him like that! Ford and Johnson get up and reject it. Bring it back to a 3-point gap as Johnson will head back to serve. Trailing 12-15. Ball's up, and oh, below the net. Way too much on top of it. 4-point deficit now as Reed Scott heads back to serve. Scott gets it up and into the net, almost. Got it over, but it heads back over to the Cougars. 3 points separating them as Marcin Hoffman heads back to serve. Ball's up and over, received by Koleski. Setting for Scott, blocks. Maybe off of Kamenar's head, but it doesn't matter. 2-point lead for the Cougars. Tristan Kamenar having a great night at the line. He is not a blocker, but that's his 3rd block of the night.
Yeah, a couple good blocks right now we've seen. And those are the things that the Cougars are going to want to keep doing if they want to really get back into this game.
Miller, a floater. Mosher, miscommunication with Ford. And that's going to send a free point back over to the Falcons. 17-14 lead for CU Dub. And Miller sends it into the net. Both of these teams struggling at the service line as Alex Ford heads back to serve. 15-17 2-point deficit for the Cougs. Miller gets it across. Forward. Here's Koleski to the back row and down. Owen Koleski. A nice shot. And with a 3-point lead, Parker Butterfast heads back to serve. He was fantastic from the line in set number 1. Started to struggle in set number 2. Didn't get it over the net in his first run at the line in set number 3. Ball's up and into the net. Parker Butterfast just struggling from the service line. All of his mojo from set number 1 appears to have disappeared, and he'll head back over to the Cougs. That's the 3rd straight service error for the Falcons.
Earlier in this game, we mentioned that the Falcons have been doing a great job with not committing those service errors, but lately it's like the complete opposite.
And there, another attacking error for the Falcons. Amons and Koleski thought Hurley was going to them. He instead back sets for a non-existent Reed Scott, who's all the way on the back line. And the Cougars are within 1. Koleski sends it wide. It's not tipped. And we are tied at 18 apiece. The Cougars starting to find their groove as Coach Curtis Madsen calls his first time out of the set with these two squads tied at 18. Alfredo, what do you think the Cougars have found in the last couple of points that's allowed them to claw back into this?
Well, even just not only in the last few points, but throughout the entire game, we mentioned in the first set the miscommunication between some of the players, and they've improved a lot on that. A lot of the times in the first set, you could see that they would kind of just bump into each other, not really know where to be at the right time, and now they've improved a lot with that. It's also that the Falcons have had a few issues with service errors lately, so that has helped a lot for the Cougars to really claw back into this set.
Yeah, both these times tied up at 18. The Cougars, I mean, it really is, you can kind of tell. You actually do see this a lot at this D3 level of volleyball. It's about just as much how good can you play, how effective can you play, as it is how clean can you play? How many errors are you going to commit? And right now we're seeing these runs. Cougars play clean, Falcons start to struggle, Falcons play clean, Cougars struggle. And that's kind of defining those runs so far, like you talked about. So the score tied at 18. Eli Mosher will head back to serve again, his team on a 3-0 run. Hurley is going to set it for Amons. Kept up by Gato. And they're going to tag a violation on Eli Mosher, so CU Dub gets what they want out of the timeout. They bring back the lead, 19-18, as it'll be Hayden Hurley headed back to serve. He was at the back of a 5-0 run that set CU Dub up in the lead earlier this set, ended on a service error. He gets it over this time. Mosher setting up Kamenar. It's off the block, kept up by Miller. Scott from mid-range, kept up by Gato. Cardenas going to Mosher. Hurley setting all the way over to Koleski, blocked. Going back to Koleski, blocked again, but it's out of bounds. CU Dub back to a 2-point lead. You can kind of see Koleski learning from that first attempt. See where they're going to block, play those angles. It's fine if they block it if it goes out of bounds. Hurley gets it across. Cardenas to Mosher, setting over to Johnson. Too much on it. It's out the back row. 3-point lead for the Falcons, and Coach Manos is going to take the timeout, try to bring it back in for his team. They trail 21-18. We'll be back in just a minute on the Cougar Sports Network. Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network. The Falcons fighting back into set number 3. They're at a 3-point lead on a 3-0 run. Hayden Hurley finding his mojo at the service line this set. Mosher setting Gudzovsky, and it's too wide. A hard shot, but just not the right angle. And the Falcons, they have a 4-point lead, and they're just 3 points away from taking the lead back tonight. Hurley sends it over. Cardenas receives. Mosher setting up for Kamenar. Sent back over. Mosher is going to go for Gudzovsky this time. Off the block, kept up by Nelson. Koleski's blocked, and it's on the line. Tristan Kamenar fighting at the wall. His 4th block of the night. And the Cougars within 3 as Kamenar heads back to serve. Miller to Hurley. He's going to set Amons. A floater. Woo! Amons loves it, and he should. Fooling the Cougars as he breaks out the soft shot for the first time tonight. And the Falcons 2 points away from taking set 3. Koleski tosses it up. Gets it over. Cardenas receives. Mosher setting Gudzovsky. Got behind it. They'll get another chance. It's Johnson this time. Blocked, but it's out of bounds. Plays the angles right. Stays out of the way. And the Cougars are going to get another chance. Trailing by 3. CU dub. 2 points away. You want to get at least 4 here to at least force extra volleyball. You got 1 mistake. 1 point to give. Gudzovsky gets it over. Hurley setting Miller, a floater kept up by Hoffman. Mosher's there, he's going to set Johnson. Off the block and down, Tate Johnson back-to-back kills. And the Cougars are within 2. Johnson up to 6 on the night. Gudzovsky headed back to serve again. He's got 3 aces on the night. Up, over, Miller receives, Hurley chases it down. Scott from mid-range. Mosher going for Hoffman on the near side, gets under it. And it's set, not match point, set point for CU dub. 24-21 as Chase Amons heads back to serve. Amons on the year, 8 aces to 28 errors. Cougars need at least 3 straight points here. Kamenar receives. Mosher setting for Johnson. Blocked, kept up by Mosher. Cardenas looking for Hoffman. Blocked again. Mosher slaps it over. Hurley setting Miller. Blocked, kept up by Miller. They're going for Butterfast, kept up by Mosher. Cardenas looking for Hoffman from mid-range. Blocked! Just slapped down by Butterfast. And the Falcons take set 3. They're able to withstand the Cougar runs. And they take a 2-1 lead on the night. Concordia Chicago now facing elimination sets. It's do or die for CUC in set number 4 when we come back in just a minute. welcome back to River Forest for the Concordia rivalry. Concordia, Wisconsin taking on Chicago. Falcons leading 2-1 as we get ready for set number 4. Falcons looking solid so far tonight. CUC's gotten close, took one set, but they're facing elimination for the rest of the night. And do-or-die set form would be a do-or-die for both teams at set 5 if they're able to take set 4. One of the big things for that is you look at that attack, the Cougars, I mean, they've been struggling on the attack. At the same time, Concordia, Wisconsin's been playing some fantastic defense tonight, and you see that in the attack percentage. Concordia, Wisconsin, a 157 through the first 3 sets. It's not great, but in comparison to the Cougars, it's fantastic. CUC hitting at 0-2. 0-2-0. A very low hitting percentage as a team. Through the first 3 sets, the Cougars want to start to be more efficient on those attacks in set 4 if they want to get a chance. Only 6 fewer attempts on the attack than the Falcons, but 14 fewer kills. They haven't been able to succeed there so far tonight, and that's a trend they're going to look to change here in set number 4 as Hayden Hurley heads back to serve. He was fantastic from the line in set 3. They'll look to continue that in set 4. Mosher setting for Johnson off the block. Hurley going over to Koleski, and he gets it down over the block. And Concordia, Wisconsin draws first blood through the first 3 sets. The team that scores first took the set. And CU Dub would love for that trend to continue here in set number 4. Back to serve is Hurley. Ball is up and over, received by Cardenas. Mosher setting back for Johnson, who has an open lane to the back row. Tate Johnson gets the Cougs on the board. Back to serve is Iafa Reese. Reese gets it over. They'll set that for Scott. It's off the net and out of bounds. And I say it's off the Cougars. So the Falcons take the point. Back to serve is Koleski. Received by Gato. Mosher setting for 4, looking for the near side. Kept up. Scott had a chance to push it over. Looks like Hurley was into the net. So I'll head over to the Cougars. And back to serve is Tate Johnson. Johnson tosses it up and gets it over. Errant reception! Welcome to March, Alex Ford, a slam dunk. And the Cougars are in front 3-2.
Feels like set 2, 3, and now this one all start pretty similar with the back and forth. First one wasn't like that too much.
Miller, too much sauce on it, gets that positive launch angle. Almost to the bleachers, and it's a 2-point lead for the Cougars. I mean, these are two very evenly matched teams at this point in the season. You have a very banged up Cougars squad missing 2 of their 3 best players. The Falcons starting to find a little bit of their groove tonight. Oh, how about that, Tate Johnson? Just as far as you can get it before it goes out of bounds. Maybe a fingertip on the paint, and the Cougars have a 3-point lead. Sixth ace of the night for the Cougars as a team. Johnson drills that over again. Now set for Miller. Kept up, and Cardenas can't get it back over the net. Cougs laying their lives on the line as they get all the way back to the wall. Back to a 2-point deficit, and headed back to serve is Chase Amons. Amons tonight 1 ace from the line. Kamenar receives. Mosher setting for Kamenar. Trying to go to the back row. Amons setting for Scott. Rejected by Kamenar again. Tristan Kamenar having a fantastic night at the net. 3-point lead again for the Cougs as Kamenar heads back to serve. They'll sub him out for Tyrese Armstrong. Oh, they'll sub out Gato. Armstrong headed into the front line, so Kamenar will stay back serving.
And I believe this is the biggest lead that the Cougars have had in the beginning of a set so far.
Mosher, a dump off, it's down! Eli Mosher picks up the kill. And the Cougs continue a strong start to set number 4. It's 7-3. Kamenar gets it over. Scott receives. Hurley setting for Miller. Blocked back over. Scott setting for Miller again. Whoo! Miller. A fancy play, but it's just not enough. The Cougars defense at the line just able to back off the time, trying to kick it straight out of bounds, but get that tip, and the Cougars blocks, able to avoid it. Butterfass gets a clear shot to the ground, so he ends a 3-0 run for CUC, brings it back to a 4-point gap, 8-4, as Reed Scott heads back to serve. Scott tosses it up over the net, received by Kamenar. Mosher, a dump off again! I mean, it's got to stop working at some point, but not just yet. Eli Mosher, another kill. And it's a 5-point lead again for the Cougs. Alex Ford back to serve.
Cougars are on a roll right now, and they have to keep this up. They can keep this up. And oh my God.
Alex Ford getting as much of the net as you can and still getting it over an ace for the sophomore. I mean, that ball was over on the Cougars' side, and it had enough front spin to roll over the net. Hurley gave up on it, and I don't blame him. I mean, that is an insane roll, a great roll.
Yeah,
for
Hurley
Alex
was
Ford.
never going to make it to that. It was such...
Yeah, I love that timeout from Curtis Madsen. At that point, after a play like that, your team's going to be kicking themselves. It starts to feel like, okay, the ball's just not bouncing our way. We can't do anything. Call the timeout, take a minute, let them reset, get that out of their heads, and then get back into the game. This is the largest lead the Cougars have had tonight. A 6-point lead, 10-4. And the Falcons, they'd love to avoid that 5th set. We've seen an ability from CUW to go on some big runs, so it's definitely in the picture for them to claw their way back in here.
No, yeah, they absolutely can claw their way back up. But with the moment that CUC's having, I don't see how they can really close that gap as much.
So you see that attack percentage is looking great in this set, 571, as Alex Ford drills that over again. Hurley setting for Miller, who just slaps it out of bounds, but he plays those blocks again perfectly, getting the tip. And he'll head back over to the Falcons. Love that smart play at the line, using your head. Tate Miller heading back to serve himself. Received by Kamenar. Mosher setting over to Armstrong! Oh my goodness! A bullet to the 3-point line. Miller blocking the face. And the Cougs get that 6-point lead back. Eli Mosher back to serve. Received by Miller. Hurley setting for Koleski. That'll get down. Koleski able to get around the block. Back to a 5-point gap, and Butterfass back to serve. Butterfass again, fantastic from the line in set 1. Struggled a bit in set 2, struggled a lot in set 3. He wants to turn that around. Mosher setting back for Armstrong, received by Butterfass. Miller tracks it down. It's off the banners. Koleski gets it over. And then Kamenar. It's a floater.
There's a bit of a miscommunication there.
Yeah, I mean, there's that miscommunication, but also it's the timing. You go up, you look like you're going to get the hard shot from the back row, so the blocks go up, but you just hold off a bit and just send a soft shot over the net. Almost able to get that on the corner. But yeah, that's again one of those heads-up plays where you're able to play the blocks to your advantage. Back to a 5-point lead after the service error. Headed back to serve is Hayden Hurley. Again, Hurley's able to get it over. Cardenas receives. Aris slams it out of bounds. Ayafa Aris. First shot in a while, not getting it where he wants it. It's down to a 4-point gap, 2 straight points for the Falcons. Again, Hayden Hurley, no service aces, 4 service errors. On paper, doesn't look like he's had a great night there, but he's been doing very well at the back of some big runs. Kamenar looking for the near corner. Hurley keeps it up. Miller setting up Kalesi, and that'll get down.
Yeah, when
you can't get it across, Cougars leading by 5.
You mentioned Hurley. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's having the greatest night on paper, but he has done a really good job, and he's been very reliable. He's always been the one. I think whenever they go on a run of points, the Falcons, it's always Hurley who's serving.
Back to serve is Kalesi. Received by Cardenas. Mosher setting up Johnson. A lot on it, and it's tipped at the line. A power shot from Tate Johnson, and the Cougars back with that 5-point lead, 14-9. Tate Johnson back to serve. Johnson tosses it up, gets it over, kept up by Kalesi. Miller looking for the back corner. Gato digs it out. Mosher, a dump off. It's kept up this time by Damon. Kalesi roaring in from the back row, and it just catches the paint. Back to a 4-point game. These two squads trading points now. 14-10 lead for CUC as Chase Amons heads back to serve. Falcons really starting to turn it around after that timeout when they're in a 7-point hole. Mosher setting Kamenar. He's blocked. It's down out of bounds. Michael Cardenas. Looking like Michael Jackson as he avoids that one. And the Cougars are back to a 5-point lead. Tristan Kamenar back to serve. Up, over, received by Kalesi. And Butterfass. Green grass, no opposition at the net. And he picks up his 6th kill of the night and brings it back to that 4-point deficit. Reed Scott going quickly, received by Cardenas. Mosher setting forward. And Drew Nelson can't handle it. 5-point lead for the Cougs.
Falcons are doing a good job trying to get back into the game, but the Cougars are just much better in this whole entire set overall.
Alex Ford just a bit too long, less than a foot. And we're sticking at that 4-point deficit, another trade of points as Tate Miller heads back to serve. Miller tosses it up, gets it over, received by Kamenar. Mosher setting up Armstrong, blocked at the net. Mosher now passing it up for Armstrong. He's going to go over the block this time. Now set for Butterfass. Cardenas keeps it up. Mosher setting. Johnson from mid-range, blocked out of bounds. Tate Johnson stay on a heater, up to 9 on the night. And the Cougars bring it back to a 5-point lead. Hurley to Butterfass, out of bounds off of Mosher. Back to a 4-point game. So Butterfass back to serve. Would love to find that form he had in set number 1. Again, off the net. Cardenas keeps it up. Mosher gets there. Johnson on the far side. Tipped at the line. Kept in by Butterfass. Hurley, a dump off. Reese rejects it. They're just slapping it back and forth. It's pinball at the net. The whistles are blown, and the Cougars into the net. They'll give it over to CU Dub. And the Falcons finally break that run of traded points. 3-point gap as Butterfass heads back to serve. Ayafa Reese going to take a chance to tie his shoe. Butterfast. Up. Off the net. Cardenas to Mosher, setting Johnson. Too much on it. And it's back to a 2-point game. Butterfast, he's finding that mojo from the line. He's at the back of a 3-0 run now.
Cougars are losing a bit of that lead that they had. It had been kind of like a 4 to 5 point lead, and now it's only 2.
Mosher setting up Johnson. It's off the block and down. Tate Johnson gets it to go. Much needed for the Cougs. Back to a 3-point gap. They silence the run as Van Gato comes back into the game and heads back to serve. Ball's up. Over the net, received by Damon. Hurley setting Kalesi. Kept up by Cardenas. Mosher setting Kamenar, floater. He's going to go to Amons this time, out of bounds, not tipped. Too much angle on it, and the Cougars back to a 4-point lead, 19-15. Coach Madsen telling his guys to take a breath. Gato into the net. A service error. The Falcons will take it. Coach Madsen was about to call a timeout if the Cougars got the point. Instead, he'll let his team run with the momentum. 3 points gap. Hayden Hurley back to serve. Ball's up over the net, received by Cardenas. Mosher setting a Reese, blocked and down. 2-point deficit now. (19-17). Hurley tosses it up. Received by Cardenas, miscommunication with him and Gato, and suddenly it's a 1-point game. Greg Manos is going to take the timeout and try and tie his guys back together as Concordia, Wisconsin starts to find their mojo.
Yeah, this is, I don't know, bro. When you see a team that has such a wide gap, like 5 points, and then suddenly they claw back up, it starts to put a little stress on you. I don't know what the coach is going to tell them, but they kind of have to really get back into this game because they could end up losing the third set, and that would be the end of this game.
Well, I'm going to challenge you to figure out what Coach Manos is saying if you were Coach Manos. Alfredo, based on what you're seeing out there for the Cougars, what do they need to adjust in the last 6 points here to finish it off and send to set 5?
I mean, even just adjust, I would say no more errors at all because you're getting very close to them actually taking a lead. Another thing would be a little bit more communication. You saw in that last play there was about 0 communication to whether who was going to go for the ball or not. It's those little things, those little errors that are what gives the Falcons that ability to claw back their way into a game that you pretty much had a huge lead on.
We'll see how the Cougars are able to come out of the timeout. They lead by 1. Hayden Hurley at the back of another scoring run. It's a 3-0 run for the Falcons as he looks to get his squad back in it. Up, over, Cardenas receives Mosher, passing back. Johnson fading away, kept in by Miller. Kalesi gets it over. Cardenas passing up for Kamenar, over the block. Miller has it. Hurley passing for Kalesi, off the block and out of bounds. And the Falcons tie it up at 19 apiece. CU Dub clawing their way back into the game, and we are tied. Mosher setting Kamenar. Lot of sauce on it. And it's tipped. Kamenar just trying to overpower the defense, and the Cougars get that lead back. 2019, Ayaf Aris back to serve. Up, into the net, just not enough power on it, and we're tied back up at 20.
Just when you thought that you were going to go into the last part of the set with a comfortable lead, you end up with the same thing as all the other sets, minus the first one. It's just a very, very close game.
Kalesi gets it over. Mosher setting forward, a floater. Miller slaps it straight back over. Cardenas. Mosher back to Ford and down! Alex Ford gets his guys the lead. Second time's the charm. Drilling that one to the ground. 21-20 lead for the Cougars. Tate Johnson back to serve. 2 aces on the night for Johnson. Up. Gets it over. Received by Damon. Hurley setting Amons. Again, nothing but green grass. And we're tied at 21. Starting to get shades of set two. These teams trading points through the 20s until the Cougars were able to make some distance. Amons would love to flip the script this time around. Serves up and over. Gato receives. Mosher setting for Kamenar. Off the block. It's getting batted everywhere on the Falcons side, and Hurley gets it over. Mosher going to Ford again. Misdirection. The Falcons stay alive. Mosher, a dump off, and this time he gets it to go. The Cougars looked like they had it once, looked like they had it twice, and finally Eli Mosher just gets it done himself.
Yeah, they need to go for everything right now because the whole entire game is set on these moments right now.
Early setting Butterfast. Parker Butterfast gets up there and gets his guys tied at 22. Scott, too much on it, and after the Falcons have looked so good from the line all set long, they get a mistake when you need it the least, and the Cougars have that 1-point lead back. Alex Ford back to serve. Gets it up, gets it over. Damon receives. Hurley setting Butterfast, blocked out of bounds by Aris. We're tied at 23, and Tate Miller will head back to serve. At this point, if either team scores 2 in a row, that is the set. Miller over. Armstrong to Mosher, setting Armstrong. Drills it! Untouched to the back corner! And the Cougars are at set point.
Yeah, the Cougars have a golden opportunity at the moment. This could be what really turns this game around. They're going to go into a timeout, and I hope the coach really gives them something.
Yeah, Coach Madsen knows you can't take them with you. He's not trying to be like 2024 Matt Eberflus as the Cougars 1 point away. The Falcons trying to end it here. If the Cougars win, the Falcons, obviously, they're still in it. They can still win it in set 5. They'd love to just get it done now. Those 5-set games, a lot more nerve-wracking than you need, especially in a game where you could end it early. The difference has been we've just been trading points.
Yes.
And the Falcons need to break that trend at some point. The Cougars need to break that trend at some point. If the Cougars break it here, they win. The Falcons are going to need 3 in a row at some point to take the set.
Yeah, and the Cougars are kind of obligated at this point to just score this point. Otherwise, it's going to get really complicated for them. I mean, even with the lead that they had, it would be a little bit disappointing for them to not take this set.
Yeah, I want to ask, who are you going to for here? If you're the Falcons, you got a play set up here. You got someone you're going to try and get the ball to for the kill. Who are you looking for, real quick?
I'm not sure. What I would say is where I see the most points gotten is with Hurley.
Mosher gets it over. Miller receives. Hurley setting Kalesi on the run. Owen Kalesi, a drill to the back corner. And ladies and gentlemen, we are getting bonus volleyball in set 4 at a minimum. Going to 26 points, and Coach Manos knows too. Can't take him with you. He'll take that timeout. We'll take a timeout here at the Cougar Sports Network. We'll be back in just a minute. back on the Cougar Sports Network. We're still trading points in set number 4. Cougars need to win the set to send it to set 5. Falcons can end it here. We're tied at 24. Both teams need a run of 2 straight points from here on out. Parker Butterfast back to serve. Gets it over, received by Kamenar. Mosher setting for Johnson. Blocked back over. Aris to Mosher. This time for Armstrong, a floater. Hurley, he's going to look for Kalesi. Mosher keeps it up. Cardenas setting for Armstrong on the run. Tipped off the block. Butterfast. Hurley. Amens has green grass. And suddenly, the Falcons has flipped the script. And it is match point in set number 4. Parker Butterfast can win it here. Tosses it up. And the Falcons take it. Tate Johnson can't handle it. And the Cougars, so close to sending it to set 5. Drop it in the end. Concordia, Wisconsin takes down the Cougars and steals a win on the road, 3-1. Another tough loss for CUC and a great win for CU Dub.
Yeah, an absolutely great win for the Falcons, and it really closes off the night in a great way for Butterfast. He had been having a kind of a regular night, having a few sets that were really good and other ones that he would struggle a little bit, but this really closes off the night. Fantastic for him.
Yeah, Parker Butterfast ending the night. 9 kills, 2 aces. Owen Kalesi ending the night, 16 kills, leading both of these squads. Tate Miller following him up with 12. Tate Johnson leading the Cougars with 10 for him as an embattled, injured CUC team continues to slide in NAC play and fall further away from the top 8. And that play off positioning, a 3-1 Cougars. They'll get a chance to bounce back very soon. They're back in action right here in River Forest this Friday, taking on Lakeland University on Friday night at 6 p.m. That'll be here in Geisman Gymnasium. You can watch that live on the Cougar Sports Network. But as for tonight, that'll do it between the Cougars and the Falcons. CU Dub takes it 3-1 in this year's edition of the Concordia rivalry. They steal a win on the road as they move up to 3-5 in conference. Cougars drop to 2-5 in conference. We'll see them bounce back this Friday against Lakeland. As for tonight, I'm Jonathan Shear, the Cougar Sports Network. Joining me tonight was Alfredo Jaramillo Ruiz. Thank you for joining us once again, and as always, roll Cougs.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.